Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and today I've got one Vikings player on a rookie contract who's going to take the leap next season.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. I got a Vikings player on a rookie contract I think could get cut.
I'm Arif with Pro Football Network. I didn't know we were talking about players on rookie contracts. This is exciting.
Luke Inman on Twitter, at Luke_Spinman. Final gambling picks today. Can't wait to see what 12-leg parlay Sam Ekstrom has in store for us.
It is a doozy, Spinman. Can't wait to unveil it today on the Minnesota Football Party.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Pro Football Network's Arif Hassan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Welcome in. I'm Sam Ekstrom, Locked On Sports Minnesota, with the Lukes and Arif on the Minnesota Football Party. Glad you've joined us today, where we will deep dive into Brian Flores, the new Vikings defensive coordinator. Yes, we will deliver some intriguing names on rookie contracts for the Vikings, and we're drafting a trio of the best Super Bowl games ever. We'll see who can assemble the best team. Also, our Thursday regular Ron Johnson pops in to talk a little Super Bowl as well. You can find Locked On Sports Minnesota and the Minnesota Football Party in a multitude of ways on the Amazon Fire Stick and Roku devices. Find the Locked On Sports Minnesota app. Watch us on your smart TVs or on YouTube, Locked On Sports Minnesota. Smash that subscribe button and comment below. And you can also find us free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Let's kick it off with this. So, Kiss of Death on Monday, we discussed Ejiro Evero's denial of the Vikings. What does it mean? Will the Vikings go to Mike Pettin? And then hours later, our show became obsolete because they hired Brian Flores. So now that we've got the full crew together, I want nerdy, deep dives. I want schemes. I want blitz packages. I want the good stuff on Brian Flores. What are the Vikings getting in this guy? Luke Braun, kick us off.
Sure. Yeah. The cliff notes are a lot of blitzing, a lot of 5-man rushes, and a lot of man coverage, a lot of cover zero, no safeties, send the house, living entirely on the edge of the earth, which will probably be a pretty refreshing take to a lot of Vikings fans who are sick of watching the Vikings back off in defense and let everything get caught in front of them. Gone are the days. There's a lot of off alignments, but that's still going to be like man coverage just with an off alignment because it's a big blitz. Yep, it's weird. An aggressive team now.
Inman, I liked your stat a couple days ago when we did our football party show. The blitz rates in his 3 years in Miami, 11th when they were really bad. They were 11th. And then once they got good, second in blitz and second in blitz. Those, I think, that's the key indicator, right? That this guy is going to bring pressure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, fans have every right to just be excited. Like Luke said, like, oh, this is a new chapter here, a new era. I think you might actually see a breath of fresh air here. I mean, if anything, this guy's probably overqualified to still be a defensive coordinator at this point. Highly successful, third in Coach of the Year voting. I think it was 2020. Just an outstanding track record, a great resume. 11 seasons, I think it was, with Belichick in New England. KOC was there, actually, when he was drafted as a quarterback. So maybe a little crossover there. KOC has seen his style, his character up close and personal, and he's a player's coach, just like KOC. I mean, players rave about him everywhere he goes. I know the last 7 years in New England, he was a safeties or linebackers coach, so kind of exciting to think about what he'll be able to do when it comes to developing young guys like Lewis Seen and Brian Asamoah, knowing that's kind of been a specialty of his. But I just think, end of the day, what's most important, basically, he's everything Ed Donatel wasn't, right? I mean, no more just rushing for, hoping they get home, and just playing that soft zone coverage behind him. No more what you see pre-snap is what you get post-snap. Vikings had 9th lowest pressure rate in the league last season. That's going to change in a big way because this guy loves to bring the heat. And if he doesn't bring the heat, then he's showing you different looks. He's showing you different disguises, simulated pressures, blitzes, anything he can do just to confuse that quarterback, make him hold on to the ball that extra half second, anything to just disrupt the timing of the offense. That's Brian Flores' MO, and that dude's got his finger on the trigger ready to start bringing the house whenever he needs to. So, end of the day, man, last year, that defense was so bad, so slow, just so stale. This team just needed a dramatic change, kind of a breath of fresh air. And I think what's encouraging, too, you mentioned the stats in Miami. Kind of a similar situation the first year when he took over in Miami. That was the 31st ranked defense. Didn't have a lot of help, didn't have a lot of talent, and he got them all the way up to the middle of the pack after just one season. I think that's all fans are really realistically looking for here. Just get us back up to respectability again. And I think when you look at the talent the Vikings should be bringing back, at least as far as just kind of this core of guys on the roster, I think he'll be in an even better position to come out of the gate hot, have some early success, at least compared to what he had the first year in Miami. So that's fun. But everyone's going to be blitzing. Linebackers, safeties, you name it. I mean, kind of similar to what we saw a lot with Zimmer, right, on third down. Like, just get everybody up there at the line of scrimmage. You don't know who's coming, who's going. Harrison Smith Blitz.
Harrison Blitz. That's his new nickname.
Harrison Blitz.
2023.
What was the final number? 12 times I think he blitzed last year. I mean,
14.
he may trump that by week 2. I mean, not even kidding. Lewis Cine, too, more of a traditional in-the-box safety. He'll be at the line of scrimmage a lot. Brian Asamoah, we're all excited about what he's going to do with that speed. He'll be flying all over. But that's what Brian Flores does. He just does a good job of maximizing each player's kind of specific talents and unique skill set. And that's what good coaching does today in the NFL. And I think that's why everywhere he goes, players do rave about him.
Let me tee Arif up with this stat. Speaking of safety blitzes, Harrison Blitz. This is going to be a thing, you guys. Safety blitzes from the Dolphins, 2021, 196.
Yes.
Safety blitzes from the Vikings in 2022, 19. So 10 times more.
That's more than one a game. What are we all complaining about?
Yeah, come on, guys.
Come on, guys. What do you want?
Yeah, I mean, the Dolphins in particular had some great safeties for safety blitzing. So I think that you could probably map that 1-to-1 a little bit, at least on what the Vikings will do. Yeah, I do find the hire interesting. I think that it does say a lot about Kevin O'Connell, specifically about his ability to kind of move on from what he thought his preferred defense was. I think that that's a good thing that he chose to find a coordinator that he thought was talented as opposed to a defense that he thought was good. I think that that's a sign of smart, humble thinking. So that's great. But I also think that we got to be careful, right? I think Luke's right that, if we're realistic, I think that what we probably want is to move that defense up from like last to about average, maybe a little bit below average, maybe a little bit above, but in that average range, that's fine. I think that we need to be careful about thinking about kind of like the way blitzing and man, I mean, because it's, over the course of those 3 years, number 1 in blitzing, number 32 in the use of zone coverage, number 1 in cover 1 rates. That's the style of defense that we're used to seeing from the Belichick line, going all the way back to, back when Belichick was running hybrid defenses. Like we've seen Matt Patricia do it. We've seen a bunch of, defensive minded people coming from that system do it. But we have to be careful because blitzing and not blitzing are not inherently better than the other. Man coverage and zone coverage are not inherently better than the other. I think that what's really ideal is to not only just mix it up and have a diverse range of the things that you do, which is what we see in Miami, because if you're number 32 in zone coverage rate, you're at about a 50-50 rate. That's zone coverage is just prevalent in coverage styles around the league. So you do see a really great mix of zone and man in those systems. And obviously the second part of that is tailoring what your players can do to what your defense can do, which I think speaks to Luke's point about how when he first arrived in Miami, they were 11th in blitz rate. They weren't number 2. They weren't number 1 or anything like that. They were 11th, right? And I think that speaks to the talent that they had. That they didn't have like the real McCoy and Xavier Howard yet to be able to do all the man coverage stuff that they wanted to do and get him his picks, right? And so they wanted to make sure that they had everything necessary to run a scheme that's going to be as aggressive as they want it to be. You just kind of be careful about what this means. I don't think this rockets the Vikings up. And I don't think fans think it rockets the Vikings up to 10th or anything like that. But, it's not inherently good that you blitz, but it's probably inherently better that you're willing to. So that's probably the takeaway here. I do think that we're likely going to see a lot more safety blitzes, not just like from what Luke said from Harrison blitz, but also I think that you've got some capacity there with Lewis Cine.
Yeah, Lewis Cine's recovery. That's going to be a big story going into next year. One other nugget that I like, 2020 third down success rate defensively, number 1 in the NFL in third down stops, allowed teams just 31%. That's pretty encouraging as well. And how about this? Inman, let me run this by you. A little draft tell. In Flores' 3 years in Miami, Christian Wilkins, first round, Raekwon Davis, second round, Jalen Phillips, first round, to fortify that defensive line. And they were all pretty good. What do you think about Flores getting a little pass rushing help?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh, if he's still even there on the board at 23 when the Vikings are on the clock. But certainly it's kind of this just assumption that Vikings have to take a cornerback. And it is a great cornerback class this year, but that also means that you can get great value in rounds 2, 3, 4 later on as well. So I don't think we should be pigeonholing ourselves. We already have 3 young cornerbacks on the roster with Booth, Evans, and Dantzler.
That's all they have.
Okay, that's all they have. You're right. So they're going to have to not only replenish that through the draft, but also likely free agency as well. Yeah, so there's multiple options to go. If they did take a cornerback in the first round, I wouldn't be disappointed. I don't think anybody would be, but I'm glad that you brought that up, Sam, because at least it is somewhat of a tell. Like, just don't assume in all these mock drafts that we start reading or writing for the next 2.5 months that it has to be cornerback in the first round. There is going to be options. I will say it likely should be defense, but not necessarily just cornerback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cornerback needs to be addressed like it is an emergency, but I think when we go into the draft,
right?
Yeah, when we go into the draft, I think a lot of people say, okay, what's their biggest need? Okay, that's what they'll draft. And that's just not how the draft tends to play out. If there is not a corner that you like at 23, there's not a corner you think is worthy of taking that high, but there is an edge rusher or a wide receiver or a center or whatever, then take the player you want, because if you hit on that pick, you're very rarely going to be like, yeah, man, we got Christian Darrisaw, but I sure wish that was another wide receiver. Like, no, we're just really happy with Christian Darrisaw. So if you hit on the pick, you're going to be happy with it. And it's not, and with the depth of this cornerback class, I think you can still do what you need to do.
The second round position, corners, especially in the second round, some really high level players. I think at receiver and corner, there's a really great sweet spot in the second round. At least
second round. What's that? I've never heard of this. We don't have a second round.
Definitely. And that's what kind of hurts and bums a lot of people out, obviously, not having that second rounder. Of course, you take that TJ Hawkinson trade 10 out of 10, but
we'll have a second rounder by
don't worry about that.
10 p.m. on night one.
You're right. I mean, otherwise, waiting from pick 23 to pick 88, that's just such a long wait. You're going to watch a lot of these high-end guys fly off the board. Yeah, but certainly we all expect. And
I don't think Kwesi's going to let that one
go. What are the odds?
Come hell or high water, whether it's Dalvin Cook being traded or just a trade down in the first, that second round pick is going to appear.
Right. What are the FanDuel odds of the Vikings having a second round pick this year?
That'd be great. I do want to say
on minus 300.
Well, okay, just for example, I was looking at the trade value chart. We always talk about moving down to the end of the first round. Well, what if they kept moving? Carolina has so many extra picks from this Christian McCaffrey trade. You trade down from 23 to 40, you get 40 and an extra third round pick and probably some late change, 6th or 7th on top of it.
Hold on, who are they trading up for?
It's Carolina.
Carolina,
I can totally
Don't
see
worry about it.
Idiots.
Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Just say names. That's all you got to do.
Anthony Richardson. There you go. We're good.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
wait a minute. If he's on the board,
the Panthers will have Derek Carr. That is an inevitable marriage.
They're going to go veteran again?
You say so. Frank Reich. I can't trust rookies. I will say this, though. I think that there is a difference between what happened in Miami and what they needed and what they invested in versus what the Vikings have, right? Because I think you take a look at the Miami defensive line, it was not phenomenal. The Vikings defensive line, at least that front four, that top line is great. It's genuinely extremely good. You don't have a Christian Wilkins who is kind of I just blanked on the name of the Packers nose tackle. But in
Clark.
Yeah, Kenny Clark is in the mold of a Kenny Clark in that he can pass rush and run stop, and that's pretty rare, and that's nice. And if there's one of those in the draft, maybe my understanding is that there isn't. This isn't really a defensive tackle draft, but I would say that because there's a lot of talent in players like Harrison Phillips, Dalvin Tomlinson on the inside, because you've got za'darius Smith and Danielle Hunter on the outside, you don't necessarily need to invest a first-round pick like you probably did with Miami, given kind of the situation that they had in terms of their pass rush. So I'm not going to say that they're not going to do it. I'm just going to say that I'm open to every possibility. That includes a wide receiver. I wouldn't hate a wide receiver in the first round, right? Yeah, they need to improve their defense, but I mean, having someone that you're really excited about opposite Justin Jefferson and scoring points, I mean, the goal is to have the most points at the end of the game. However you do it seems like, the best way to go about it. So there's a lot of picks that they could make that I think are totally reasonable, understandable. You can gripe about stuff like the value proposition of drafting a center or something like that. But certainly there's a lot of picks that at least would make sense, right? If they drafted a center, you'd say, yeah, I get that. I understand why they would do that. If they drafted a receiver, a cornerback, defensive tackle, edge rusher, I would understand all of those. I would say, hopefully they don't draft a linebacker in the first round, but I would get it, right? Because you want a succession plan for Harrison Smith. Eric Kendricks. You want to pair somebody with Brian Esmo, who hopefully, Brian Flores is excited about developing that sort of thing. And, Jordan Hicks obviously is not going to be that answer. So a lot of players that they could draft where it makes sense to you, which is, I think, a reason to trade down.
Absolutely. I'm totally with Arif there too. And that's why you always go BPA. It's super cliche, but you do you can't focus too much on what your current situation and roster looks like to avoid a higher end graded player just because you think you're okay at that position now. Too fluid of a situation, like too many things happen. You go in thinking, all right, we got JJ, we got Adam Thielen's coming off a good year, and we just added this guy Jalen Reagor and KJ Osborne. Well, all of a sudden you go through the season, one guy takes a huge step back. He looks a little bit older and slower. Jalen Reagor, the guy you added that you were excited about, doesn't really pan out. Not sure how high of a ceiling there is for that guy in this offense. And then you look back, you're like, man, we passed on a really good receiver because we thought we were good. Too much changes year to year not to stick to the board. And that's why you go through the entire draft process with the scouts and everybody else. And that's why you rank those guys. You got to stay BPA. Don't pigeonhole yourself just to one position because too much stuff changes.
Inman, you, Reggie Wilson, and I agreed yesterday that the fit is best for Harrison Smith, because just of the natural reasons we've laid out, the leeway that he'll have to move around in the box and blitz and run around in circles. Maybe the worst fit personnel wise might be, and he's not on the team, he's a free agent, but Patrick Peterson. Like, if anyone looked good in sort of the softer zone with a little more help, it was Patrick Peterson. I'm not sure how good he looks in a man-heavy scheme. Braun, would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, yes, I definitely agree with that. I think the zone match was the best for him. And I guess you get whatever you got out of Patrick Peterson in 2020, which wasn't the worst, but also, I don't know, maybe we can get something more efficient elsewhere on the free agency market, and maybe Patrick Peterson wouldn't want to go back to something like that. He's already said he wants to come back to Minnesota. He likes his teammates. He likes the locker room. And as players get older, that kind of thing starts to matter to them more. But as with all things, it'll be a bidding war, and maybe somebody else will be interested. Maybe nobody will be interested. We shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves. Like, we shouldn't be too attached to guys like Patrick Peterson and Duke Shelley. Would love them both back, but there is a whole free agency market out there. We can look outside. Too late.
I am attached to Duke Shelley. It's way past that point.
They got to bring Duke back on a cheap deal. Right?
I would love to bring Duke back.
Have you guys looked at the free agents cornerback market, that pool at all? It seems like there's 5-6 legitimate names out there that I think I would feel good about if they added any of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the best way to bet on Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. Get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from money line to point spreads to who will score the first touchdown. And guys, I'm not exaggerating. Just take 10 minutes and scan, and we'll do our props later in the show. Scan FanDuel's NFL page on the Super Bowl. there must be 1,000 ways to bet, and I'm not exaggerating. There are so many ways. So check that out on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and easy to use, and you get paid your winnings instantly. They're the official betting partner of Locked On and the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. FanDuel.com/LockedOn to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. FanDuel, make every moment more. We teased this in the open. Let's pay it off. I want one Viking, and it sounds like Luke wants to rain on the parade. He wants to name someone who's going to get cut, but I want to name someone who's going to take the leap, who is going to make that momentous jump in whether it's year 2, year 3, year 4, somebody who's on a rookie deal in 2023, who is going to pop off the page. Let's start with Arif.
Oh, okay, sure.
The one who didn't prepare for this.
Yeah, the one who didn't prepare. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of the more popular picks or kind of the easier picks because I figured I would go last because I was less prepared. So I picked a somewhat more obscure one. So I'm going to let you all dig into that. I think Gophers defensive end / defensive tackle kwesi-adofo-mensah, I think has a real chance to, make a big leap forward, because I thought how he ended the season, which, I've talked in the past about how we can't overfocus on players that end the season strong. History suggests that doesn't tell us very much, but I think when you've got a rookie who was raw coming into the draft, who was raw coming into camp, who needed a lot of work to get ready, when he suddenly becomes, a more developed player, that I think is pretty meaningful, or at least it seems meaningful. I'm willing to get tricked by it. And so I think that you put him in a system where he can continue to develop, same defensive line coach. You put him in a system that's going to open up more opportunities for him to rush the passer, that's going to teach him to be a little bit better of a run defender. I think that there's a lot of things opening up for him, especially when you've got somebody that is really comfortable running hybrid fronts, somebody like Brian Flores that's got the ability to put him in situations where he's comfortable. Because remember, when he was in the draft, so he, the Gopher system, he was a 4-3 defensive end on the outside shoulder of the tackle, but he projected because of his size and length as a 5 technique, as somebody who might 2-gap as a 3-4 defensive end. He has the physical skill set for that, but he doesn't have the technical tool set for that. And I think that if you can develop him along those lines with somebody who has a hybrid front, take advantage of that athleticism, and given what we've seen so far, I think there's an opportunity for him to pop off.
I like that, and I thought he looked good last year. Luke Inman, who you got?
Yeah, I kind of had the same mindset, actually. You can pick almost any of those guys from last year's class. Most excited about Brian Asamoah, and that was before Brian Flores was even brought in. Andrew Booth, too, knowing. I think Booth's going to be kind of forced to kind of sink or swim here pretty quickly in this defense. So how quickly can he adjust? Because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, not just stay healthy, but to adapt to this new scheme that leaves cornerbacks out there on an island playing that man coverage rather quickly. But I'm going to go like number 3 or 4 past some of those easy ones. Patrick Jones, I just think he's a guy who kind of unofficially leapfrogged DJ Wanham as edge number 3 in the defense. Now he's kind of entering that pivotal year 3, right? But I think he's shown the explosion and the ability to work his way into the backfield enough to where I think Brian Flores will get a hold of him and take his game to the next level. Even if that's just a situational pass rushing piece, I think he's got the tools just to be really successful under this new defense, even if it is, again, just a role player. Flores was a linebacker coach in Pittsburgh last year. He knows how much he needs kind of that third pass rusher in the defense at times, behind Za'Darius, behind Hunter. I just think he'll be asked to play a little bit bigger piece of the puzzle than he was last year, because by now I think we kind of know what he is and what he isn't. But in a league with just so many sub-package guys on the field, Arif called out these hybrid fronts that we're going to see, I think he can carve out his own kind of unique role and be successful under Brian Flores. So I'm kind of excited to see about Patrick Jones in year 3.
Bron, do you actually have someone that you want to cut? And can I guess who it is?
You can guess who it is, but I might holster that take and save it for camp.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on.
Okay, no, fine. Okay, guess who it is.
You gave it to the people in the open.
Right. Well, I assume it's not
is.
Ed Ingram. I think I'm going to ignore anybody who was a rookie last year. James Lynch is too boring. Patrick Jones?
DJ Wanham.
No, but that would be a spicy one. No,
Yeah.
It's Dantzler.
Oh, that is spicy. Okay. That's
Wowie.
Yeah. Considering that there's only
no
4
on the roster.
corners under contract right now. One of them's on a reserve futures deal.
Yeah, I was like, who's the 4th? Okay.
Kalen Barnes? Let's go.
I think Kalen Barnes or like Tay Gowan or one of those guys. But yeah, I think he's been
That is
jerked around a whole bunch of systems, which I think has really stunted his development. There have been many Ty Dunn articles written about how the brash coaching style did not mesh with Cameron Dantzler. So I think of all of the people on the Vikings roster, if we're to pick a loser of the Brian Flores hire, it might be Dantzler.
I'll say this. I don't think that your take is like completely out of pocket or anything like that, but I will say, outside of coverage busts, which I understand, aside from that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln, right? But I get that. He looked really good when he knew what his assignment was and he was in coverage, which I think he took a huge step forward. And I think that the Vikings want to invest in that. And I know that you already took into account the fact that the Vikings just don't have cornerbacks. That was part of the spiciness of the take, but I do think that's going to play a role in keeping him. But I like it. I like the strength.
I like it too.
It's a weird dichotomy. Because go ahead.
I was just going to say, Flores is a guy who walked up to Tua Tagovailoa in practice and said, if I knew you were going to be this bad, I would have drafted Mac Jones. Like, that's just his personality. But because he gets results, wherever he goes, most of the players love playing for him. But
Tua
I
is not
like
built
that.
for that, man.
Yeah.
Tua is not built for that kind of
It's Cam Dantzler.
Yeah, you got to know who you're dealing with.
Tua needs McDaniel to show him 1,000 plays where he's good, right? Isn't that what he did?
Yeah.
The Dantzler dichotomy is so mysterious because Arif's absolutely right. Like the majority of plays, he looks good, he looks solid, but he keeps losing battles with lesser, like Rashad Breeland beats him out.
Well,
Duke Shelley.
So the
beats
number
him
one
out.
thing that gets players benched is not that they're bad at the techniques that they're taught or that they're unathletic or that they're unproductive. The number one thing that gets players benched is mental mistakes. That is why you get benched.
And that's the stunted development I was referring to.
And so that's why Dantzler was losing out battles to Duke Shelley, right? And I mean, Duke Shelley was playing well, but initially the Vikings were not anticipating that Duke Shelley would play well, but they kept doing it because he knew the assignment, right? So in like the very non-TikTok meme way, but right? But
that's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah, but like that, I mean, that was critical, right? Because Dantzler, 60 snaps, you're probably going to get 56 extremely good ones out of him. And you were probably not going to get that from the guy that he got benched for. But those 4 are important. Mm-hmm. And so that's usually the primary reason that players get benched.
Well, I have a real answer to your question, Sam.
We never got to that.
Yeah, since y'all let me have all the easy ones, I'll take Lewis Seen. His recovery looks like it's going great. He's
weirdly great.
Yeah.
Mysteriously great. Is that even Lewis Seen?
But you can't. There's no
clones.
You can't HGH your way into like bone growth,
right?
Like that's
right.
Like I don't know what's happening here, but I don't think it's illegal. It's just exciting.
Yeah. And he's a missile. That's what he was at Georgia. He's line him up high and send him downhill. That's great for the Flores scheme.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Point and shoot. That's a lot of these rookies are point and shoot, and that's what Flores loves to do. I love it.
Yeah, I guess there's also a way to put Brian Asamoah, right? That's
Are we all in agreement though? We're most excited about Brian Asamoah.
Sure. Yeah.
We just kind of deferred on
hold
Asamoah
on. I haven't given my guy yet.
Is it Brian Asamoah?
No.
So we all decided not to pick Brian Asamoah because it was so obvious and boring.
Right.
Yeah, but Luke's right. I mean that is like number one with a bullet. Okay. Because he is one. Now, let me ask you guys this. A little trivia question. So every receiver in the NFL with 10 or more targets. Number 2 in yards per route run is Tyreek Hill. 3.07. It's pretty good. Guess who's number 1?
It's a receiver on a rookie contract.
KJ Osborne.
Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
5.77.
I have
yards
to
per
ask,
route run.
Does that include the routes that he ran on the fake punt?
That's
Probably.
a great question.
I would assume so.
Probably.
Maybe. I don't
It
know.
was a high throw.
Yeah.
He's twice the receiver Tyreek Hill is in this one very specific ultra filtered stat. But you know
one
what?
Of my favorite wide receiver stats from the 2022 season is that every wide receiver on the Vikings active roster outproduced Jamison Williams.
You only had one catch, right?
Yeah.
against the Vikings?
Well, yeah.
It was a
One
good-
busted coverage. That's all he
was
did
that
in the,
his
like 6 or
only-
7 games.
Was that
on the whole
literally
season?
his
the
only
Dude,
catch?
look it up on
Yes.
PFR. Yeah.
Correct.
Dude, they're okay. So this is weird. Like, people have been weird about Jameson Williams because they've just assumed that ever since he showed up on the active roster, he's been great and he's been fun to watch and he's been getting open, but like that he's not getting the ball. And so there have been 2022 redrafts where the Vikings don't trade down and draft Jameson Williams and they leave like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the board.
Oh,
and it's
what?
like,
The
come
ESPN
on,
Plus one, it was
come on.
wild.
Yeah.
That one was
clearly
wild.
a
Was
hot
that the
take.
one where
Brock
Purdy
went
went one?
fourth in that one? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw two
Okay,
of them.
I
Purdy went
respect
fourth
the
and Purdy
energy of
went
that
one.
one because at least I get it. I
It's-
totally
yeah.
disagree. I get it though because it's a quarterback, right?
Like, whatever
Right.
you're
Right.
debating, I get it. Yeah.
Right, but like, come on, man. Chris Olave had 1,000 yards with
did?
Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a stud.
Yeah, everyone's talking about Garrett Wilson, rightly so.
Yep.
You know, to me, 1A is Olave, 1B is Garrett Wilson, but you
Mhm.
can choose whichever one you want, right?
Mhm.
But Olave got lost in this conversation. He has been
Totally.
phenomenal.
Yeah, flew under the radar somehow, some way. I mean, for the first 7-8 weeks, like he was in that discussion the whole time. And I don't know if
Yeah, and it
I remember he
just
had that concussion, that really bad concussion, for a few weeks.
No one
and
wanted to watch Saints football. Plus,
Yeah, you're
Wilson's
right.
highlights were just kind of more exciting because after catch stuff is always more exciting
Right.
than before catch stuff. So
Mhm.
it's like the Percy Harvin effect.
And the Jets had quite a moment in November when they
They
were
did.
Percy Harvin,
almost
Urban
winning
Meyer's
the
favorite
AFC
player
East.
ever.
Mike White.
Yeah.
Then they fired
Johnson
the offensive
shortly.
coordinator. All right, yeah, it's good job, Jets, man. Really killing it.
Ron Johnson joins next. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. The biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less. Instant reactions, game recaps, Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports Today available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. While we wait for Ron, let's update the parlay standings. We go into Super Bowl week. Luke Idman has hit 2 out of 3. That's pretty good, Luke. Hats off to you, man. Luke has 660 in the black. The rest of us have lost 500 each week, and we are minus 1,500. So we've got to make up 2,000 buckaroos. And since it's the Super Bowl, I think we got to go twice as big. I think we got to prepare 2 parlays for today for the Super Bowl, just to give us a chance at catching you, Luke. What do you think about that, guys? There's literally 1,000 possible bets.
Yep.
I mean, sure. I just have to make sure I construct it.
Some of the bets are not parlayable.
Yeah, that was really
that's-
frustrating
that's
me
tricky.
the other night.
That's so annoying.
Yeah. And I don't know what, like, does it have to say same game parlay, have that little logo on it?
But like every so often, I'll throw in one that doesn't have the little logo, and it works. I don't know, but but the logo is a good guide at least. But I hate it because it's restrictive.
Yeah, for sure. We can start those while we await Ron Johnson. We also have our best Super Bowls of all time draft coming up a little later in the show. Order doesn't really matter for this because we're not going to overlap. So why don't we start with who has one prepared?
For one of my 2, I'm running it back. I didn't hit on this one last week. If you guys remember, it's maybe a low risk, low reward, but that's been my strategy during this. And so far I've hit 2 of 3. Jalen Hurts over 8.5 carries, over 15.5 yards, only gets me plus 125, but I'm going to run that one back. I don't think he can go back-to-back games and not hit that. Right, guys? Right? Guys?
That's over 8.5 carries, over 50.5 yards. I hear that right?
Correct. Plus 125.
So I'll go. This is also very Hertz based. Hertz, anytime TD, and then an alternate yardage line, 225 passing yards. I'm banking on the Eagles to win by double digits. Eagles are going to win big.
Ooh.
So alternate Eagles line,
Spicy.
minus 9.5.
If you like the Eagles by double digits, I would assume you would like the over as well. Just knowing that the Chiefs are probably at least going to score some garbage stuff. Just being down by that much and just having to pass so much, I would think you would love that over 50.5, which is, I mean, it's a high just in general, but isn't ridiculous for these two teams.
I'm kind of banking on the Chiefs offense to be a little depressed with their lack of pass catchers, and maybe the Eagles are able to get after Mahomes kind of like the Bucs did a couple Super Bowls ago. Like the over-under in that Super Bowl ended up being like or the point total was like 37 or something crazy. Because the Chiefs just couldn't score. So there's one of mine, and that amounts to plus 828.
Man, I really wanted. So here's what I wanted to do. I'll just tell you. I wanted to combine Jerick McKinnon anytime touchdown scorer, just because I wanted redemption on that one, of course. I wanted Travis Kelce anytime touchdown scorer. I wanted Kansas City Chiefs minus 6.5, and I wanted Juju Smith-Schuster 25 plus yards. And then I wanted to add in Travis Kelce Super Bowl MVP at plus 1,600, right? So it was going to be a Chiefs-centric, Kelce-centric one that without the MVP, it's plus 1666. The parlay is plus 30,022.
30. Wait, read it off again.
Go.
I guess
Yeah,
I
give
zoned
it
out.
to
I wasn't
me
paying
sort of
attention. I don't know
slowly.
if I like this anymore. What is it now?
I don't know if I like this anymore. Jerick McKinnon anytime touchdown.
Correct.
Travis Kelce anytime touchdown.
Correct.
Kansas City Chiefs minus 6.5.
Correct.
Juju Smith-Schuster 25 plus yards.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Why was that? And then Travis Kelce Super Bowl MVP. I don't believe a tight end has ever won Super Bowl MVP.
What if Mahomes has to like leave midway with the ankle? So
Right,
the quarterback
and
play
then-
is split, and Kelce has the big
Yeah.
game.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, so anything is possible. So that's my parlay plus 30,022.
Okay, that's all right.
That's wild.
That is
I'm gonna do an
wild.
Eagles one.
I will be extremely entertained if it all happens, with the exception of the MVP.
Right.
I just threw away a plus 1,600 just because I wanted the MVP.
Unbelievable. Braun, what do you got?
Philadelphia Eagles money line over 50.5, and Jalen Hurts over 49.5 rushing yards. That's my conservative one, but we're doing two, right? So I can put together a crazier one. That's plus 451, and it's an all Eagles one.
So you and I are rolling Eagles. Arif is pretty heavy Chiefs. This is interesting. All right, so there's one each. Ron Johnson, still tardy. Shame on him. That's all right. Who wants to go next? I've got Miles Sanders, first Eagles TD. Travis Kelce, first TD of the second half. Because the Chiefs are going to say, what are we doing, guys? We're behind by 20. We need to get right. And they go to their guy. They go to Travis Kelce out of the locker room.
I
The
don't
halftime
think they
adjustment
say a
worked.
word to each other down 20 at the half. I think that's just normal.
Just normal dialogue.
Yeah, it's just.
Hey, how you doing? How's the
All
wife? How's the kids? Good? Good?
right.
All right.
Plus 39.55.
AJ Brown over 5.5 receptions. Jalen Hurts 225 plus passing yards.
That was mine.
Miles Sanders under 61.5 rushing yards. Kenneth Gainwell anytime touchdown. And Eagles second quarter winner. And there's no push on this one because the tie was an option, so a push. So if they tied, that I would lose that in this case. Plus 65-30.
I went all special teams.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you have Aaron Sipos odds?
No, I have Kansas City Chiefs to miss a point after. Yes.
Oh,
Plus
that's good.
560.
That's a good one.
Will either kicker successfully make a 55 plus field goal? Yes, at plus 440. And will the Kansas City Chiefs punt in the game? No, plus 2,000. Because they'll go for it every time.
Every time? They like Tommy Townsend.
Nah, they're going for it. That is plus 74,744 odds. The goal was expressly to not be rational. So yeah, we got there.
My plus 30,000 was rational. It was real.
My plus 74,000. I had to.
That's crossing the line, Luke.
Whoa. Too far, dude.
I'm not a
far.
super fast typer.
All right, so Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. Chiefs win the first half. Eagles win regulation. Travis Kelce over 7.5 receptions. Over 49.5 total. And 2-point conversion. Adds up to 12,688. That's fun. All right. Good
Nice.
luck, everybody.
All right.
What are we
Have
doing?
some fun.
What are we doing?
You're right, Luke. This is our weakness on the show, and I like to think of myself as a creative driver of the show, not when it comes to rewards. I'm really bad at the rewards. What do you want? What do you want in life?
Okay. As of now, until somebody comes up with a better idea, the winner gets to choose all three other people's Twitter profile picture for a week. That's it. TVPG, nothing crazy, nothing wild, just something funny, lighthearted. Boys will be
Sounds
boys.
Ron Johnson joins us. He's the host of the Ron Johnson Show. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, roundtable on Friday. Can't wait to get your take on the D-Load trade tomorrow on the roundtable, Ron, but this is a football show. Super Bowl. What does your head tell you about who's going to win, but what does your heart tell you about who you want to win? How are you going about that? Who do you want to win versus who do you think will win?
Well, my heart is gonna take me to wherever my parlay is gonna go. I haven't officially decided which route I'm gonna go, Eagles or Chiefs. So whichever one I land on, that's where my heart's gonna take me, because you know me, Sam. Anything for FanDuel, if I can win it, I'm in it. So my head tells me the Eagles. I just feel like the Eagles defense. You think about Patrick Mahomes and his ankle. Hassan Reddick has been playing lights out. I just feel like the Eagles defense, and then that offense is so multifaceted, and they have what the Chiefs don't, a quarterback that's healthy. His shoulder, a little banged up, but the fact that he still can run. When you watch that one run play where it was a zone read, but also to the right was a bubble screen, to the left was a fade. There were 4 plays within one play, and so Nick Sirianni has been a mastermind at putting that together. So my head's telling me the Eagles. I just feel like, whenever they get to these moments, they just have a different gear they can hit. They have a different bully mentality they can get to. So I'm going with the Eagles.
Ron, we talk a lot about this new Flores defense. He loves the blitz. I'm just curious, as a former receiver in the NFL, what's it like on, say, like 3rd and 7, seeing pre-snap, the pressure's coming, the quarterback has to get the ball out quick. But at the same time, you look up, cornerback's got no safety help. You see a lot of grass in front of you if you can make a play. What's just the biggest obstacles pre-snap for an offense, just from a communication standpoint with your quarterback when you know the blitz is coming? And I guess as a receiver, do you prefer that over like a normal coverage, like the too high safety look?
Well, it depends on the quarterback. So if it's a mobile guy, the pressure is going to look a lot different than a guy like Peyton Manning, for instance. And so let's just put Kirk Cousins in the Peyton Manning group as far as athleticism. When you think about that, for a guy like Kirk Cousins, his goal is mentally, how can I dissect this blitz? So who can I make sure is picked up? Even when they show 7-man, 8-man pressure, all 7 aren't coming. So which 6 are coming, and how do I pick those up? 5 linemen, 1 running back. Sometimes they will send 7, and that's when you see a guy come scot-free. Well, when they send 7, that means there's only 4 DBs out there, and I have 3 to 4 receivers in this route. So in that instance, you got to win. You got to win early. You got to win at the line, and so you got to pick your best matchup. For a receiver, like Wedding Crashers, is knowing if I'm the hot guy. If it's hot route, like if I'm the hot, and because literally you've heard mic'd up quarterbacks make a check, and then players on the team are like, is that an actual check? Like, was that for real? And so, that happens in games where quarterbacks forget what week they're in, and they call the wrong hot route or the wrong check, and their receiver's not on the right page. So you got to know if you're the hot guy. Like if I'm the guy where if the linebacker comes or this unblocked guy comes, I now have to change my route to a slant. Funny story, Peyton Manning did that with Ben Utecht one time. I think Ben Utecht told us this on my show earlier in the year. We had to get him back on the show. But Peyton Manning threw the ball at the back of his head. Ben Utecht was the hot route. Ben didn't run the hot route. And Peyton was like, well, I'm not getting sacked, so I'm going to show everybody you're the idiot. And he threw the ball at the back of his head. And so when they broke the play down, like when they broke it down as a team, Peyton Manning broke the team down for practice and said, some of y'all need to put those guitars and that music down and get into the playbook, because clearly you don't know the play. And so that's what pressure does. It makes everybody have to be on the same page. And if you make one mistake, that's when you see that ball fly over somebody's head and it's interception. That's where you see, the Dwight Smith, Tampa Bay versus Raiders. They were just throwing it out. The Neil O'Donnell Steelers, Cowboys, just throwing it out there. Where there's, he thinks the guy knows the route is, hey, you're hot. And you don't run the hot route, and I'm going to throw it anyway. Well, it's a pick. So that's what a quarterback and a receiver goes through. Like we have to be on the same page. If not, one of us is going to look stupid.
I love that Ben Utecht got like United Wade in that one.
I forgot about that commercial. That definitely, it was
awesome.
that little kid. There was that little kid. Like you saw
Well, okay, so I got to ask, like, kind of related to that, honestly, is I think last week someone asked Jalen Watson, like, hey, isn't it really cool that you got this secondary full of rookies? You're all playing at a high level. You know, what's going on there? And Jalen Watson goes, what rookies? Right, which is obviously, an argument about how, they're so seasoned. They've been playing so long. It doesn't really feel like they're rookies anymore. It's the Super Bowl. Is that true? Like, I just feel like being a rookie at the Super Bowl is so qualitatively different than even being a second-year player at the Super, even if it's your first Super Bowl. Do you still feel like that is a concern? And that, I mean, I love that Kansas City secondary. I've got a ton of respect for Spagnuolo, but that's just a concern for me. They're rookies.
Antoine Winfield was just a rookie too, and they won a Super Bowl. So, no, I think when you go through 17 weeks of a season, you go through 3 weeks of training camp, you go through OTAs. That's a lot of football from week 1 and 2. And at this point, too, there's nothing special. I mean, other than the Philly special, there's nothing special that the Eagles can do that we haven't seen on film at that point. You have 18 plus games of film. You have 2+ years of Jalen Hurts to kind of watch the film. So unless Nick Sirianni is sitting back like mad scientist and he's like trying to devise all these ring around the rosy plays that the Chiefs do and stuff like that, at this point, your job is the playbook is in, the scheme is in. There's not a lot that's going to change. Like I said, Trent McDuffie, when you see like his contributions and how he makes plays, it's just being in the right place at the right time. And I think that's the key for this defense. Now, the only thing that could happen to a rookie, and this is anybody in their first Super Bowl, is overexertion, meaning you come out you Kevin Hart the bit. Like you take way too many shots of liquor, and before the post game, you're drunk. And that can happen with players. You can be drunk with exhaustion, where you just overexert pregame. You overexert dancing, on the sideline before the game starts. You're crying at the national anthem. Like you're just wasting so much energy, and you want to make a play so bad that by the third quarter you're exhausted and you've wasted so much energy. So I think for those first year guys, especially rookies, it's keeping calm. Like stay calm is a long game. It's a lot, like halftime is long. So it's a lot.
So I was gonna add in. Every break is longer. Like halftime's longer. Yep. Every commercial break is longer. Your 10 seconds are now 20 seconds. Your 20 seconds are 40 seconds. So like everything that you do is going to take longer, and you've got so much more downtime that if you're the kind of person that like hypes yourself up during downtime, a lot of people are. There's more you got to get through. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. So I mean, they're going to be worried about, like, again, you're right. How do I take this calm break and then get back ready to go, because it was a long commercial. Eminem, I mean, I'm more worried about what Eminem's going to do. Like, is Eminem Candy going to really have Maya Rudolph? Or are we going to see the Eminem spokespeople back? Like, what's going to happen? Like, everybody wants to know. So
that'll be an incredible advertising strategy to make a huge stink about how they're gone and then bring them back like 2 weeks later.
Well, look, anything's better than Baby Peanut. I think the bar is low.
Baby Nut.
They have a commercial right now on SportsCenter. So like that one Eminem is doing the blue screen on SportsCenter, and the screen makes them half red, half blue. So I feel like it was a marketing ploy. Like, are we really going to get rid of Eminem people? Like, come on. It's not even
way. No, I think you're right. And we're just going to kind of see because they want a storyline. I think we're going to see what the storyline is. There's like so many ways to screw it up, right? Because like the Planters Peanut Baby Nut thing, no one liked that. Right. And so you can't be that. You gotta go somewhere, especially because the way they screwed it up is they announced the Planters Peanut death like the same week Kobe died. And it's just like, oh man, you could not have started this off worse. Yeah. You could not have started this off worse. God. And it was a whole stunt to bring out just a baby version of the peanut that already no one liked. I want to bully that baby. Right? It's a bad spot. So the M&Ms have like a lot of pitfalls they got to avoid here.
Yeah. That is true. At least they didn't say bust a nut. That would have been bad.
Ron, what do you got for Ron?
Ron, let's say you are approached by Commissioner Roger Goodell, and he says, we're going to give the Vikings a draft pick if they lend a player to one of these Super Bowl teams and that team wins. To make it hard, let's say you can't say Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Who are you sending where?
Ooh. So I just have to lend them a player for the Super Bowl.
Just the game.
Just the game, but for the Super Bowl, it can't be Justin Jefferson. Who would I lend to them? That's a tough one. That's a weird question.
Yeah, welcome to Luke Braun.
That's very specific.
A little weird, dude.
I would probably, like, if I'm lending them a player, I'm probably going to lend them Dalvin Cook for the lack of usage he had this season. I'm going to get him some more carries with the Chiefs or the Eagles, either one, because like the Eagles RPO with Dalvin Cook would be ridiculous when you think about that run game and the production they're getting out of, not saying no-name guys, but Miles Sanders and another guy wearing number 14. Forgot his name.
Gainwell.
But how you say it? Gainwell. Yep. Yeah. So when you think about, what they're getting out of Gainwell and then what they're getting out of Miles Sanders, I could see lending Dalvin Cook, just because he wasn't overly he didn't have more than 22 carries in any game all season. So yeah, I would lend him Dalvin Cook.
Ron, we appreciate your contributions as always. Roundtable tomorrow, D-Lo reaction, and RJ's parlay. You don't want to miss that. We'll see you then, Ron.
Yeah, and the Lakers are looking like the Timberwolves right now. So we'll see what that team ends up doing.
Yeah, to see if they can eke their way into the 10 seed.
If Jared
are not good.
If Jared Vanderbilt, D'Lo, and Malik Beasley take the Lakers to the playoff, like close to the Final Four, clearly the Timberwolves made a mistake. But we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yep, that's a good tease. Roundtable tomorrow. Ron, Luke, Reggie, myself. Thanks a lot, Ron. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Appreciate you.
All right, gents, here's how we end the show. I have listed all of the memorable Super Bowls, all of the possible announcing teams, and all of the recent halftime shows. We are selecting a team of the 3 best Super Bowls that you can assemble, plus your favorite announcing team, your favorite halftime show. So it is basically a 5-player team. We will make it a blind vote on Twitter. And let's just start with Luke Inman. Why don't you start? We'll go around the horn.
So you would
Parlay
think,
leader.
Yeah, you would think I would go with the game here, but I think this selection for a halftime show is going to get a lot of votes. I'm going to go with Prince 1-1 overall.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, we all had Prince as our 1-1. I think we all wanted to pick a halftime show. All right. We all wanted to pick.
We know the audience.
The games are coming later.
Yeah.
I still think there is another great halftime show, though, up there that I would feel more than happy with, that I think will get a lot of votes.
Right.
That's the only reason I thought maybe not.
I'm there too, but the problem is I think Prince was such a clear 1-1.
Right.
The advantage of the next best halftime show I think is big, but I think the advantage of the top announcing duo is huge. And I think Sam's going to disagree with me on this one because he actually knows announcing duos, but I am playing to an audience here. I'm picking Summerall Madden.
Ooh, nice pick.
Yeah, you're appealing to like the Giles Farrells of the world who are addicted to Summerall and Madden, who I don't have the...
Look, you grew up playing Madden? That's iconic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
know that this
Summerall ruined it for me. Summerall ruined that tandem for me. Madden was good. All right.
Does that mean I get Super Bowl 42, Giants Patriots? I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great
David
pick.
Tyree, helmet catch.
Great
Yeah,
pick.
that's pretty good.
Not going to complain.
I will, just so people
My
don't
thoughts
get
are pretty
confused,
clear on that one.
I will put helmet catch in the parentheses so that
That's
everyone's
good.
clear about which one that is.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, that leaves it to me. I think that the announcer tandems are fairly even at this point. I do think Summerall and Madden has sort of that mystique. Rest in peace to them. Halftime shows, again, do I go? But I should also put like where we drafted these two, so people can rip us for our draft order. Like I don't want to go halftime show too early because I don't think they're any worthy of being my first round pick. So I think I got to go game. And I think with Tom Brady retiring, people are talking about 28-3. Patriots, Falcons. is my first round selection. I am also going to do another game. And I think, boy, I think Patriots-Panthers was an amazing Super Bowl that no one talks about. I think Steelers-Cardinals was an amazing Super Bowl that no one talks about.
No,
I don't want to be like too heavy Brady here, and that's also a temptation. Like Patriots-Seahawks is great.
They were in a lot of, so here's the thing, because I ranked them all, right? The problem is that the Patriots were almost entirely, or Brady was almost entirely until very recently, only in 3-score games, right? And so when you've got a team that has been in like 9 Super Bowls or whatever and has only been in 3-score games, they're going to appear at the top of a lot of these lists, even if you don't like them. They're exciting.
Yeah, when you say 3-score games,
or sorry, 3-point games.
3-point, yeah. No, you're right. Patriots Super Bowls were almost always great, except for like the Rams one.
Yeah.
I am gonna go with Patriots Rams, just where it all started. Very iconic.
That's such a good one.
Should definitely make sure that people know it's not the recent Patriots Rams one. That
you got to pick. Yes. You got to say 2001 or Marshall Faulk or something.
Brady's first.
So I want to put off halftime show, but I don't think I don't know who Arif's going to take, and I don't want to risk it. I'm going to take Beyonce.
God.
Yep. Knew I had to.
You had it. You that was the correct read. God.
But I think Arif's right that like taking Prince is going to be the.
Yeah, if I was gonna pick a halftime show only if Beyonce was still available. That's the problem. I agree, Luke. There are some other really good ones here.
I don't think I put this on the list. You can go off script. If you want to go to like the Grambling State Band from Super Bowl IV, you are welcome to do that. This is not a comprehensive list. I also don't have the wardrobe malfunction on there if you want to go a little PG-13.
Isn't that what Timberlake is here?
Well, Timberlake, I think he had a separate performance.
Oh, okay.
It was 2018, right?
Yeah.
He had a redemption tour.
I'm not going to pick what I ranked as number 2. I think that people will remember this one as a better Super Bowl than the one I had ranked 2 or 3. I think they're both great, but I'm picking Steelers Cardinals. I think that the moments of that Super Bowl are so memorable.
That pick 6 where Fitz almost catches him. Oh my gosh. Going into halftime.
Dude,
so that one would be higher if the Cardinals won. Because I feel like a lot of people really wanted the underdog and really wanted the story of the Cardinals. And then it was disappointing because it was like, just the Steelers again. And I think that makes it fall down people's list way more than it should.
Even though the Santonio Holmes catch.
It was incredible.
So Fitz had a 63-yard touchdown catch, and it was one of the better touchdown catches I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. That's saying something. And it was the 4th best touchdown of the game. Right?
Yeah.
like that's wild. It was crazy.
Inman.
All right, back to back. Let's go with Patriots Seahawks. And let's go. First of all, I just got to say, sitting there watching you guys just pluck all those great games after I went a halftime show 1-1, I had some regret.
You were right to pick a halftime show.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I think that's going to be worth it.
That was tough. Yeah. Patriots Seahawks, feel good that there was at least one of those top tier games still left up there. And then I'm going to go with.
That was my number 3 all time.
Was it? I'm going to go with Giants Patriots Part 2, the sequel.
What is the defining element of that game? Is it the Manningham catch?
I think the Manningham catch, but also specifically Bill Belichick, which we didn't even get until after the game, but Bill Belichick telling his secondary on the sideline, we need to get them away from Victor Cruz.
Yeah.
And we need to get them to the secondary receivers like Manningham. And then you see that. Right?
Unbelievable. Crazy. What a throw.
It was an incredible drive. Manning to Manningham was as he's hit, he's off of his back foot. It's perfect to the sideline. But he has other ones where he is getting out of the pocket. He's doing anything he can, and he's throwing it deep. There's another one to Manningham. There's another one to Steve Smith, different Steve Smith, who was phenomenal. Just an incredible, and obviously there's the Victor Cruz touchdown. He's doing the salsa. It's such a good Super Bowl, and I think people forget because the 2007 one is iconic. But like that's one of my top Super Bowls. I can't get over it.
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay. I actually don't know if I have the same halftime show ranking here, but I think I'm going to take it. I'm going to go with Lady Gaga.
Oh man, there's such a cliff after the Patriots Seahawks game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some fun ones, but there were some real greats in the last like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to take Eagles Patriots. Like that is clearly the best game left, but I also know that most of the voters are Vikings fans.
I know,
and I feel
it's
like that
tough.
one still stings.
I know.
And I want to pander a little bit and go a different direction. So I'll go old school and I will take the Scott Norwood Giants Bills game.
There you go.
By the way, I think the only one of those 4 Bills games that is worth putting on this list.
Oh, for sure. Because
Guys, I went through every Super Bowl, just like kind of looking at teams and score. The amount of one possession Super Bowls for the first 35 of them, it's like 4.
Really?
Yeah, like
Wow.
Whose fault is that?
But yeah, it's tough to find some of these close ones. And at least one of the close ones was an awful game, an absolutely awful game. Just because it was like there were 11 turnovers, and they were more
Super Bowl
mistakes.
5.
Right? Yeah,
Cowboys Colts, known
that
as like
one.
the worst game of all time.
it's up there. Yeah, I didn't put it as the worst game, but it's well worth that discussion.
So I think Ravens 49ers majorly being slept on. Think of all the elements of this game. You've got like a spectacular Jacoby Jones receiving touchdown and a return touchdown. You've got a high scoring game. You've got a massive comeback. You've got a
Huge
goal line
comeback.
stand at the very end. That was a great
It's a good
Super
game.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
I've used up all my games.
The issue with that Super Bowl is it's better in memory than it was in practice, just because waiting is awful.
Yeah, that was like a really weird party. Like totally everything grinded to a halt
Yeah.
for like
So-
an hour.
There's that, but you're not competing with someone experiencing in real time, so you get to throw it in there because you get their memories of it.
All right, I'm going to make the selection that will lose it for me, which is Buck Aikman, who,
Mm-hmm.
yep, so I lose.
We already
but
knew that.
I'm going to stick to my guns.
I definitely don't want to take an announcer duo, so I'm still taking games. I think I'll go with 1 yard short Kevin Dyson Rams Titans. I don't like how old my list is. I got my most recent game is 2007, but at least I got
The Rams Titans is good to pick there. That was going to be my pick. I was hoping you were going to pick Eagles Patriots. I have Eagles Patriots as the second best Super Bowl of all time. I get it,
I
but
can't
it's
do
an
it.
audience thing. I totally agree.
Yep. I can't.
So I
do
was
it.
gonna pick the because it's an old one, but it has one of the most famous photographs in football history in it. People are gonna know, kind of. So long as you put
think of
Kevin
Rams
Dyson in the
Titans.
thing.
Like you see a Rams Titans game this year, and people will think about that play.
You're up.
That's tough because all of my top 6 are taken except Eagles Patriots. I feel like I have to absorb the audience hit with that one. I'm going to take Eagles Patriots.
Yeah, if you didn't, I had to.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna. So I'll take Patriots, Panthers, and then coming back, my announcer. Romo's been taking some heat as of late. If this was a year ago, Romo probably would have been, 1-1. But Romo's been taking some heat. I'll go Michaels Collinsworth, I guess. I love Kevin Harlan. He's my 1-1, but I just don't think it's going to give me a lot of votes. So give me Michaels Collinsworth.
You would also have to listen on the radio if you chose Kevin Harlan.
Right.
Kevin Harlan's good though.
Harlan's amazing.
I'm like thinking about it,
Right?
just to see if it's
I would
exactly
respect the hell
hipster
out
enough.
of you if you did that.
So Rams Bengals is the only one that I have on the list, unless you want to go off list.
I was thinking about the Packers Broncos, John Elway's last one.
Screw
No,
you.
I was
That's
thinking
what I
about,
was actually taking.
For real?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, man. But now it feels bad because it seems like you came up with the idea. But at Broncos Packers, they're my 10th ranked game. I didn't want to take 49ers Bengals because they're like 1989.
Yeah.
And Cowboys Steelers is 1975. Those are the 2 I have ranked ahead of them. And for 49ers Bengals, I'd have to be like, it's the John Candy moment for Joe Montana. But like I don't think people right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I could even write in John Candy moment, but I still don't think that that's going to be good enough. So I'm going to take Broncos Packers. That one was a phenomenal one. But this is the one where John Elway ends his drought. It's the 1997 one. It has the greatest running back performance in the Super Bowl that I've ever seen, Terrell Davis, playing through a migraine, by the way. Yeah, Terrell Davis scored 3 touchdowns, 157 yards with a migraine.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's
Fantastic.
decent.
But yeah, the
Sorry.
Packers tied it up coming out of the half. 92-yard drive from the Broncos. The Elway helicopter. This is before Rosencopter.
Yes.
Elway got helicopter, converted a 3rd and 6 on an 8-yard play. Great game.
I probably watched a couple others before, but that's the first one I remember.
It was at that
6
Super Bowl.
lead changes in this game. 6 lead changes.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a great game, no matter what.
And it was at that game that Denny Green first met Randall Cunningham.
There
And
you
the
go.
rest
Yep.
is history.
And started pitching him to come out of retirement to play for the Vikings.
Broncos were also 4-time Super Bowl losers. People forget that. This game got that
Yeah.
monkey off their back.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah,
they
joined,
played the Falcons the
the
next
Bills
year
and Broncos, yeah.
and won back-to-back.
Yeah, they won
Yeah.
back to back.
When
Yeah,
the
which so
Vikes were
Elway
supposed
went
to be
from,
up.
Elway went from a Marino like to never win one. Screw you. Elway went from a Marino like to never win one to winning 2 in a row to retire.
You're giving me lots of time to overthink this, which I have, and I'll go with
Perfect.
Nance Romo.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not doing the cool thing. I'm doing the thing that I think will be more popular.
I'm going to finish it out with Bruno Mars.
rough.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, you
that
passed on
was-
Dre, Snoop, and M?
That was a great one. Yeah.
People
Reese
love
That's a
that
great
one.
Yeah.
Katy Perry was better than Bruno.
I would have
Left
gone Rolling
Shark?
Stones. Really get the olds.
Sam passed up on Left Shark for Bruno Mars?
Left Shark.
Sam, give yourself a
Doing his
buzzer for
best.
that.
Your wish is my command. Those are the teams. Thank you for the trivia, Arif. And I mean that. Thank
Just
you
an
for educating us.
encyclopedia of football.
You can find my
knowledge.
write-up on every single Super Bowl over at ProFootballNetwork.com.
Unbelievable.
This is
Beautiful.
a very fun draft. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, this is
You
great.
bet. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Arif. It's the Minnesota Football Party. Parlays are in. Let's go. You have 2 seconds each. Who wins the game?
Eagles.
Arif.
Eagles script already leaked.
Eagles. Eagles win. Eagles
Yep,
3 out of 4.
37-34
Arif.
Eagles. Somebody already leaked it.
Yeah, a Pro Football Reference, right? I don't know if it
I
was a
think so.
Photoshop job or what.
That's why I went with Chiefs in the first
Was
half and
a-
Eagles
yeah,
to win the
was a
game.
draft
because
post.
I saw that.
Show is brought to you by FanDuel. Thank you for watching. Back on Monday to break it all down on Locked On Sports Minnesota and the Minnesota Football Party.